A large wave of armed men surged into the villa, turning everything into a spectacle, firing and setting things ablaze. The master inside wet his pants from fear, just huddled in a safe room waiting for rescue. There was nothing else to do. At the outpost a kilometer away, everyone heard gunfire and immediately began prepping for a firepower party to rescue people. But Ron got a harsh reality check from the station chief. They weren't the first response team. Rushing hour would just hand over their hideout. Ron knew all too well the only firepower support around here was the wind besides them. While they waited for backup, the armed men already breached the door and barged into the villa like they owned the place. They found the safe house door and started shooting, and when that didn't work, they decided to head out for fuel to light it up. Talk about unstoppable. The fire and smoke instantly turned the bathroom into a steam room. Without any protective measures, they wouldn't last long. Jack spotted smoke rising from the consulate, and his heart dropped, realizing things were getting serious. The armed men in the consulate ran wild, killing and burning routinely, while the outpost stayed as steady as a rock. Ron was fully aware in his heart that if they didn't set off without delay, everything would be too late. He was in urgent need of your help, otherwise, we might as well just give up entirely. He couldn't wait to hand you the keys. Let's go, helping others is what we do. Ignoring the station chief, he hit the gas and sped out of base. Spotting some trouble, they hurriedly sent translator Amir to check for the Martyr Brigade, but guess what? Someone at the front was already popping caps, and chaos ensued. Amidst the bullet chaos, Ron's elite squad chose to sneak into the consulate. Although just 6 of them, they were elite among elites. The gear was practically superhero level. They finally reached the consulate door, only for an RPG to blast a big hole with a welcome. The other side had numbers and was blasting away with a heavy machine gun, and their impressive firepower made the squad feel like acrobats. Having cleared the heavy fire, the other riffraff were no match. Soon enough, they were at the burning villa. Inside was already a sea of flames. Ron and Jack desperately searched for survivors, but only found the body of the master's bodyguard, while the master was still MIA. While moving the bodies, Amir came back with the grim news that the enemy was regrouping for another attack. Ron immediately ordered everyone to grab vital intel and withdraw. Otherwise, they'd end up as mere footnotes in history. In the new exchange, Ron and his team had no choice but to cover the master's people as they retreated, but the bodyguard was so dazed by the flames he couldn't find his way. Jack told him to turn left at the exit, but after going in circles, he somehow ended up facing the armed leader. The opposing leader ordered them out of the car, but with language barriers, the tension escalated quickly. It felt like a live-action drama. Luckily, this fence was bulletproof, otherwise, they would have turned into a beehive in no time. What a thrill. Facing relentless pursuit, they called for backup while desperately trying to trace their way back to the outpost. Subtitles. Inside the villa, Ron's squad unleashed a hail of machine gun fire and launched a wave of oil grenades, swiftly scattering the approaching enemies like terrified mice. On the way back, Ron asked the bodyguard how things were going and learned they had lost the enemy, feeling a huge sense of relief. But the truth was, the enemy already knew where the bodyguard was headed. They hadn't given up the chase but were instead gathering force to attack the outpost. Soon, the Benz and nearby Hot Wheels returned safely to base, Ron's car entering unscathed. But this wasn't the dawn before the light, it was the darkness before the day. Ron warned everyone, from now on, I call the shots around here. The US couldn't provide aerial support. They'd only had 6 men and a surviving bodyguard the entire firepower of this outpost. Ron busily distributed ammo and set fire points, then the team quickly climbed onto the roof, getting ready for a sleepless night of battle. Thanks to night vision goggles, they spotted a large number of armed men closing in on their base. What a spine-chilling sight. The enemy crept from a nearby farm. Ron said, wait till close to fire, bold move. One explosive blew up, ringing in combat like a launch event, with both sides' firepower crossing in the night like a fireworks show. With explosions and bullets flying everywhere, the enemy was spraying with AK while Ron's squad was shooting with such precision it was quite the contrast. Against the odds, Ron's squad thwarted the enemy's E-Grov tilde AML letter 3CA Cyrillic letter 4E3 I circumflex AML frenzied attacks, like playing a game. But the enemy wasn't foolish. They sent in a suicide squad to probe their defenses before going for the full-on assault. Clever Meanwhile, they used the probing to catch the breath and strategize, making every second count in getting firepower support. A word on Ambassador dead or alive. A known well-checked leader, stuck at airport, was near tears. Local forces argued about who would deliver aid over money, while Ron's team was already preparing for the worst. The enemy was playing a war of attrition. No matter how elite they were, their ammo would eventually run out, and so would their stamina. Ron took a breath for a moment, yet he was alert, waiting, and watching for opportunities to arise. The second wave of attacks was imminent, with tougher weapons, more troops, and even vehicles rolling up to the base. The commander said, "The ones coming are the Lion Hunters. It's like they leveled up in a game." But at that moment, for Ron and his team, there was no such thing as friendly fire. Anyone approaching was fair game. Bullets flying from the left lit up like fireworks, and with the adrenaline pumping, the squad got carried away. Throughout the chaos, Ron and his teammates stayed razor-focused on the battlefield, ready to catch every crisis moment. They had just shot down the enemy's heavy weaponry. This attack would be a painful memory for the enemy. Ron scored a precise hit, taking down an enemy, eliciting a sense of joy.